Next at 5, COVID in schools. The pandemic surge is taking down in-person learning in some schools around the greater Portland area. Others are bracing for the same. Pat Doris talked with school leaders in various parts of the state today. And Pat, this has to be so hard for them because I know they really want to be able to keep kids in school.
Totally, Laurel, and then they're scrambling with all these variables as they try to figure out what they're going to do next. So it's definitely been hard, especially where the closures are happening, and really it depends on where you are. In the more rural parts of the state, it seems like the problem is not nearly as dire. In the Klamath District in Southern Oregon, for example, they told me they're not having a problem with teachers getting sick. But here in the metro area of Portland, it is a much different story.
On what should be a busy Monday in January, 3 Portland public high schools stand quiet, closed for the day while teachers prepare for online learning. Students at Cleveland, McDaniel, and Roosevelt high schools all returning to online learning for at least the week and maybe longer. Ockley Green Middle School students will also return to distance learning, and the entire Park Rose School District is also closed for the day and also moving back to online teaching. It's a total of 7,900 students no longer learning face-to-face. State Schools Director Colt Gill warned late last week that COVID would force this change.
The primary reason is that there are too many staff impacted by COVID-19 to be able to operate schools in person. They're either ill or quarantined. This will cause challenges for everyone in that school community.
The Salem-Keizer School District is second largest in the state. It has not gone online. Among its 42,000 students, Salem-Keizer reports 61 with confirmed positive cases and 30 staff members also positive. Beaverton is the third largest district and reports that among its 39,000 students, 730 are isolated, meaning testing positive or showing symptoms of COVID, and another 581 are quarantined, meaning they had close contact with someone who's positive. The district also has 138 staff who are isolated, which is why the district warned parents it may have to move some schools to online learning soon.
There's no specific threshold point. We're taking all these factors into consideration, and it really is going to be decided on a school-by-school basis.
It's not something anyone wants to do.
Our top priority is to keep children in school for in-person instruction. That's a lesson we've clearly learned over the last 2 years, that children do better academically, socially, emotionally when they're here at school.
For comparison, Portland, with 49,000 students, is the largest district in the state. It has 813 students isolated, 565 quarantined, along with 165 staff isolated and 72 staff quarantined.
The numbers are starting to add up. By the way, we heard this evening from Vancouver School District. Several of their schools are going to have at least 1 week online because of a shortage of bus drivers. So you see, it's not only in the classroom, but it's how the kids are getting to the classroom that's impacting us. And finally, the Oregon Health Authority just put out their numbers for the weekend, which includes Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was something like 18,000 new cases, which averages about 6,000 a day, which is a big number, but it's lower than the number that we got on Friday, which was more than 10,000 cases for one day. So maybe things have plateaued a little bit, or maybe there was just something about the reporting in that. Back to you.
Well, let's hope for the plateau and then going downward. Thank you, Pat. A new law in effect this year protects people from surprise medical bills. When you go into a hospital, you may be treated by a doctor who accepts your insurance. But if someone else comes in to help who isn't in network, the patient is likely to end up with a separate bill from that provider. The new federal law requires providers to give that information more clearly up front.
When you go to a hospital, you just assume everybody, quote, works for the hospital. And that's just not the case. Those providers and those healthcare systems have to figure out how to appropriately work together, but without moving that expense onto the consumer.
The out-of-network pitfalls are still there, but the transparency is now supposed to get better. Insurance experts say always ask up front what the cost of care is, what's covered in-network, and if any out-of-network services are involved, adding to your cost. Search and rescue crews have called off the search for a possible downed plane in the Coast Range. The search started yesterday, but there's been no sign of the plane. KGW's Joe Ranieri joins us live from Banks this evening, where the command center has been set up. Joe?
Hey there, Laura. Well, despite crews searching on both the ground and the air basically since last night, they didn't find any evidence of a plane crash out here throughout the Coast Range. Now, a spokesperson with the Banks Fire District tells me they suspended their search right around 2 o'clock this afternoon after he said they really reached all of their possible goals in searching for a possible plane down. Search crews had very little to go off of after reports of a possible plane crash this weekend. The only thing they had, a couple of 911 calls and some photos.
We've received many different photographs from many different locations.
Thankfully, those photos like this one quickly started circulating around social media Sunday night and helped crews find an area to start searching. Washington County Sheriff's Office says they got one report from someone saying they saw a plane that looked like it was out of control, followed by a loud boom.
The reports from those social media posts and locations and directions have given the search crews the best possible area to start their search with.
But where they were looking in the Coast Range off of Highway 6 wasn't easy to access.
Many of the roads that are up there are completely snow covered or closed in. Washington County Search and Rescue has a UTV, utility vehicle, with tracks on it that they will be utilizing today up there.
Scott Adams with the Banks Fire Department said crews had spent nearly 24 hours searching.
With radio receivers called ELTs, or emergency locator transponders, and any plane or aircraft that may have had an emergency could be sending out a beacon that they may be able to pick up in that area.
What also made the search so challenging, besides the conditions, there hadn't been any report of a missing plane.
Small personal flights are not required to have a flight plan and frequently will not file a flight plan.
Despite Civil Air Patrol and help from the Coast Guard, the search for a possible downed plane was called off Monday afternoon after crews weren't able to find any evidence of a crash after tracking down dozens of leads. So, Laurel, no evidence of a crash, obviously, and Scott Adams, who you just heard from, also said there's been no report in the last 24 hours of anybody missing. So what people saw and heard out in this area along the Coast Range yesterday still seems to be a mystery. Live in Banks this evening, Joe Ranieri, KGW News.
Thank you, Joe. 4 Vancouver police officers are on leave tonight following the deadly shooting of an armed man, and was all caught on a neighbor's security camera. That gunfire came after officers made several attempts to get the suspect to drop his knives. This happened about 12:30 Sunday morning in the Sky Ridge Estates in northeast Vancouver. We're told somebody called 911 to report a man inside their home was armed with knives and maybe even started a fire. As the caller and several others, children included, escaped through a window, officers confronted the armed man outside the home. Authorities say officers used a less lethal weapon first in hopes of de-escalating the situation, but that didn't work. Officers ultimately shot and killed the man.
Sad, very sad, especially in our neighborhood here. It's real quiet. We know everybody, and so it's a very sad situation.
Nobody from the sheriff's office or the Vancouver Police Department wanted to go on camera to address the shooting. Starting today, TriMet is scaling back service because of staffing shortages. 20 different bus lines will have fewer buses running. Some buses will start later in the morning and in some cases end earlier in the day. TriMet says it's short about 45 bus drivers. Riders are urged to double check schedules before heading out. Biketown is expanding in Portland. The city announced today the e-bike rental program is adding more neighborhoods. KGW's Bryant Clerkley is live at a Biketown station with more. Bryant?
Hey Laurel, Biketown is expanding by around 25%, so if you live further to the north or further to the east, you can see these orange bikes showing up in your neighborhood in the next couple of months, and I spoke to some residents that say that this is a great idea. The expansion is what brought the Portland Bureau of Transportation Commissioner Joanne Hardesty and leaders from Biketown together this morning. PBOT says Park Rose, St. John's, Cathedral Park, Mill Park, and Hazelwood are just a few of the neighborhoods where the expansion will take place. In the next few weeks, officials will identify exact locations within those neighborhoods where the bikes will go. Some bikes in the expansion area are already ready for use. PBOT conducted a survey last summer with Biketown. Over 600 people gave their opinions about what neighborhoods the bikes should go in.
Well, North and East Portland has the least access to affordable quality public transit, and so it's really important that people know that they have access to transportation they can afford in their neighborhood.
There is a fee to use the bikes, but if you have a Biketown membership, it's a reduced fee, and there is a program called Biketown for All, which allows low-income people to get a reduced price. Back to you, Laurel.
Good to hear about the expansion. Thank you, Brian.